You are listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, Saturday's tweet by President Trump has set off a firestorm that has the media. Oh, these media figures, it's worse than Watergate. What he's saying, it's worse than Watergate. And they're acting like Donald Trump and his team don't have any good indication that the Obama people would be capable of this. In fact, when they sent old James Clapper out on the Meet the Press, he was supposed to go out to help the case of the Democrats, former head of the DNI, he was director of national intelligence. And he was sent out to, I think, give Democrats cover that, this didn't happen. And I found him, first of all, just strange. The man never looks at someone when he talks. I find him very unconvincing. And a dear friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, said to me, isn't it curious that Chuck Todd has an entire segment with Clapper and never mentions his own credibility problem, meaning Clapper's credibility problem? He retired back in November, but of course, to the critics of James Clapper, he lied under oath. 3 months, I'll go back and read it so you remember, because a lot of stuff has happened since then. The passage of more than 3 years hasn't cooled the insistence in certain quarters that Clapper faced charges for an admittedly false statement to Congress. In March 2013, when he responded, "No, sir," and not wittingly to a question about whether the National Security Agency was collecting any type of data at all on millions of Americans. About 3 months after making that claim, documents leaked by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden revealed the answer was untruthful and that the NSA was in fact collecting in bulk domestic call records along with various internet communications. To his critics, Clapper lied under oath, a crime that threatens effective oversight of the executive branch. He issued this apology letter after the Snowden information came out, and said that he gave a clearly erroneous answer because, quote, he simply didn't think of the call record collection when he was asked about this. Clapper later told MSNBC he considered the question akin to asking, when did you stop beating your wife? And so he gave, we have all these sound bites, but I'll just read it for you. It's easier. So gave the least untruthful answer. Regardless of what was going on through the director's head when he testified, failing to correct the record was a deliberate decision to lie to the American people about what their government was doing, said Democrat Ron Wyden from Oregon at the time, when they figured out what had happened. So Clapper, after all this history, not like with Sessions, where Sessions was asked this circuitous question by Frankenfrog about there's this information in a CNN report, I'm just getting it in right now, about the Russians maybe having compromising information on Trump, and if someone talked to the Russians during the campaign, that would be serious, wouldn't it? And then he's like, I've sometimes been called a surrogate, the Trump campaign, but I never talked to the Russians. Well, he was obviously answering in the context of what Franken was saying. There was no way to listen to what Clapper said at the time in that direct question, except that Clapper was failing to tell the truth. Anyone should be under perjury charges. It should have been James Clapper. But they trot him out on NBC, and this is part of what he said.
If the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes.
You would be told this.
I would know that.
If there was a FISA court order on something like this.
Something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it.
There is no FISA court order?
Not to my knowledge.
Of anything at Trump Tower?
No.
Not to my knowledge of anything at Trump Tower. How many of you? I mean, I just think all of these people have credibility problems. And I understand the criticism, and I actually share the criticism of Trump tweeting out this thing on Saturday. I think that was a mistake. I think he shouldn't have done it. I think he's really unhappy with the fact that he lost the narrative last week after a phenomenal speech. He's mad that Jeff Sessions recused himself. I agree with him on that. The more I've thought about this and the more I've looked into this, I don't think Sessions should have recused himself. As far as we know, there is no investigation going on currently at the FBI to continue to look into Russian ties. So what exactly is he recusing himself from, number one? Number two, I don't see there's any reason whatsoever to question Jeff Sessions' ability to objectively review the facts of any case. He's an honorable, patriotic man and an honest man. So I actually agree with Trump. If he's mad about Sessions recusing himself, I completely agree with him. But I think tweeting out that thing Saturday morning just got him off track, got the narrative once again sidetracked, and there's no good comes of it. Now, I also believe you can hold a few ideas in your mind at the same time. I also believe, given what we know about the way the Obama administration operated, I just gave you the Clapper example, what they did with James Rosen. Remember the James Rosen story, which I believe was initially denied by the White House press secretary at the time. They were surveilling him. What they did to the Tea Party groups and the other Constitution groups, the conservative groups that were applying for 501c3 status. What they did with Susan Rice, sending her out to lie. I think these people are capable of almost anything. And it's clear in my mind that behind the scenes, Barack Obama is at the very least, implicitly directing what's going on. I'm not saying that's going on now in the administration, but gave it all a wink and a nod. Remember when he said, I want you to keep all organizing, I want you to keep, how did a lot of people take all that? Well, how did a lot of people take all that, do you think, in the end? But how many of you totally dismiss the idea that the Obama intelligence agencies were surveilling some of the Trump people? Maybe they swept them up in their net that they threw out when they were surveilling the Russian ambassador. Maybe they swept up some of the contacts. Maybe. But if they were surveilling the Russian ambassador and the Russian ambassador had a phone call at Trump Tower, what Clapper answered could technically be correct. We didn't order a wiretap or the president didn't order a wiretap, as if the president is the only one who could sign off on this. The president didn't order a wiretap on Trump Tower. But what if the DNI or the NSA or any of the other intelligence agencies came across contacts, which we know they were surveilling, with Mike Flynn and Jared Kushner? I mean, apparently somebody was leaking out that stuff. They had transcripts of the phone conversation. How did they have transcripts? Tell me, how did they have transcripts of Flynn talking to the Russian ambassador if they weren't surveilling at least, and we know, the Russian ambassador? Well, they do that all the time. That's nothing new. So he technically could have been correct. We didn't surveil, or we didn't eavesdrop or wiretap the campaign or the president. But what if they were surveilling what the Russian ambassador was doing or other, quote, Russian associates who happened to be either in contact with, could be completely innocent, in contact with Trump Tower or the transition, and you just happen to suck up information from people inside the transition. Now, that would technically not be wiretapping the campaign, but you would be sucking up information of people in the campaign. Do you see what I'm saying here? You have to think past the generalities and the general denials. And I have to say, Jon Favreau, who is the former speechwriter to Obama, tweeted out over the weekend to his Democrat friends, I'd be careful in coming out and saying that the Obama administration didn't order a wiretap, because maybe the president, listen to what they're saying. Josh Earnest kind of makes this, he brings this issue to the fore. You have to listen very carefully to what they're saying and what they're not saying.
Can you categorically deny that the Obama Justice Department did not seek and obtain a FISA court-ordered?
What I can categorically deny, Martha, is that the White House was at all involved in directing or interfering or influencing an FBI investigation of any sort.
That's not what I'm asking.
Right.
What I'm asking is, can you deny that the Obama Justice Department did not seek and obtain a FISA court-ordered wiretap of the Trump campaign?
Here's the simple answer to that question is, Martha, I don't know.
Okay. We're finally getting somewhere. Now, Comey came out yesterday. Comey's going to resign. There's no doubt about it. He's going to quit. I mean, I'd be stunned if he doesn't quit. This is all a big setup to Comey's big resignation, and then that's going to suck up a lot of oxygen. In my view, Comey's about to quit. He comes out, the FBI director comes out yesterday, and he asked the Justice Department, who's even working at the Justice Department? They don't have any of their people in yet. I don't even know who they're asking. They're asking old Obama people. Yeah, the acting deputy attorney general. Remember, because Sessions recused himself. Another reason why he shouldn't have recused himself. Sessions recused himself, so the deputy attorney general, who's acting deputy attorney general now, is Dana Bente. Now, Dana Bente prosecuted Bob McDonnell, the former Virginia governor. The plot thickens. Remember, that was thrown out on appeal. Remember that whole prosecution was thrown out on appeal, and Bente was very upset that they weren't able to nail Bob McDonnell. That man's life was turned inside and out. Unfair prosecution of him turned out courtesy of Dana Bente, because a prosecutor wants to get an indictment and wants a prosecution to be successful. That's what prosecutors do. Well, guess what? That was a political witch hunt against McDonnell, and now that man, at least for the time being, until the deputy Rosenstein, who I also have some questions about, by the way, I'll get into that later. I'm really getting into the weeds here, but these people can't tell them I didn't warn them about some of these folks. But Bente is now the person who would hear what Comey is asking for the Justice Department to reject Trump's wiretapping claim. To publicly reject Trump's assertion that Barack Obama ordered the tapping of Mr. Trump's phones. Now, the president, does he have to? We have to get one of our legal eagles in here who practices this law day in and day out, which I do not do. I don't believe the president himself, but I want to check this, has to ask for a wiretapping to occur of this sort. I believe, I'm pretty sure the head of the DA, well, I better find out. I don't want to say anymore. But again, you have to listen closely and read closely as to what they're saying. Mr. Comey made the request on Saturday after Trump leveled his allegation on Twitter and has been working to get the Justice Department to knock down the claim because it falsely insinuates the FBI broke the law. Well, what if Obama didn't? Again, I'm going back to what I said earlier. What if Obama okayed, as I imagine he did, the surveillance of key Russian officials in the last several months of the campaign? And even into the transition. Again, it wasn't a wiretap of Trump himself. It was a wiretap requested of the Russian associates. And when I say associates, that can be the most broadly interpreted term. Okay? Could be someone who had coffee with a Trump friend last year at a conference where they were looking at what Gazprom was. I mean, this is the most tenuous definition of associate I'm giving you. But you have to parse these words and these denials very carefully. We're going to take a break. 855-40-LAURA. Trump is caught in the morass of Washington, D.C., and the swamp will sink you if you're not careful. You want to drain the swamp? Well, there's a lot of creatures that are going to come out of that swamp, try to take you down and drown you. You better watch out. Don't go away.